So it's another beautiful day on the Battle for Azeroth Beta, and today we're going to take a look at the brand new island expeditions. It's a new type of repeatable content coming in Battle for Azeroth. So I'll be going over why we should do them and everything you need to know about them, as well as give you my thoughts on the gameplay and my overall experience with island expeditions. So the big question, why should we do this? Well, there's a few reasons, starting off with Azerite power. So this is an easy repeatable source for grinding Azerite power, which we are going to need loads upon loads of. And it seems like dungeons aren't going to be the main source for grinding Azerite, instead they seem to be aiming for island expeditions and world quests, leaving most of the gear to the dungeons. But apart from the Azerite power, you can also get mounts, transmogs, toys and a few pets, and I'm sure a few other things that I've missed. But the main thing to grind here is Azerite power. So what exactly is an island expedition and how do they work? Starting off, the expeditions will be unlocked after you complete the war campaign at max level. And this is account-wide, so you'll only need to unlock it on your main. After that, any alt can do it as long as they're 110. To start the expedition, you queue in either with a pre-made or solo using the expedition map. You can find this at the Borealis Harbor for Alliance and the port of Zandalar for the Horde. You then get on a ship and you travel to a random island. There will be 3 different islands that you can get, each with a certain type of mobs that will always be there. And these changes every week, so a bit like fixes in Mythic Plus. When I made this video, the islands were Dreadchain with Rykuls, Skittering Hollow with Unotake Candles, and the Rotting Mire with Pirates. But apart from that, everything else is randomized. What kind of events you get, what other mobs you get, treasures and quests, and lots more. It just keeps on changing every time you do it. So when the expedition begins, players will start on their faction's ship and be released to explore the island. The goal is to fill up on Azerite faster than the opposing faction using any means necessary. And the amount of Azerite you need to collect depends on what difficulty you do it in. You can do it in normal, heroic, mythic and also PvP. And there are several ways to go about doing this, like killing mobs, hunting rares, mining Azerite nodes, looting chests, or completing bonus objectives. On your map you will notice that a couple of places are marked with a red cross. This indicates that something of greater value can be found in that area. And to be able to determine what it is, you'll have to explore the island and get a little closer. However, the opposing faction is also on the hunt for these treasures, so every now and then you will run into these NPCs or actual players if you went for the PvP island expedition, but I will get into that a bit later. But needless to say, ganking the opposing faction gives you Azerite. Moving on, throughout the expeditions, players can also find unique items that can be used to interact with other things on the island. For example, you can find an antidote which you need in order to help a poor gnome that's been poisoned. And as a thanks, you're rewarded with a large amount of Azerite. But there's also a lot of buff items to pick up and different kind of foods that will restore your HP, which will come in handy both during fights and in between packs. Apart from that, there's a couple of different shrines that will give you a backhanded buff, so to speak. For example, do more damage and receive less healing, or when you are attacked, both you and the attacker takes extra damage. So you gotta be cautious when you pick these, as they might not be as helpful as you'd like, at least not in every situation. I mean, of course they're strong, but you also get a debuff from it. But getting into the habit of looking for these items around the island and learning how to use them will greatly improve your chances for success. Now that we've explored the island for a bit, killed a few mobs and looted a few chests, it suddenly starts to escalate a bit. I think it's around the 10-minute mark where everything starts going a bit south and the island progresses, if you will. So at this point, you'll be able to see every Azerite node and creature on your map, but there's also a chance that elemental storms or portals can spawn. Elemental storms spawn a large amount of Azerite nodes in an area, but also a large number of powerful creatures. And other times an elemental portal will be marked on your map, and taking that portal will take you to the lair of an elemental boss. Slaying the boss will reward a large amount of Azerite and 2 chests containing even more Azerite. But there is a lot of different things that can happen at this point, and this will just keep it fresh for a little while longer, seeing as you never know what you're gonna run into. Moving on, apart from the island itself, nodes, events and bonus objectives being randomly generated, it's also completely random which factional team you'll be up against. As I mentioned previously, the opposing faction is also on the hunt for Azerite, so you will have to deal with them eventually. And the majority of these teams have a racial flavor to each of them. For example, we met a team of engineering gnomes who are a living nightmare compared to other teams I've met. They spawned turrets that went bananas and everything, robots that healed, and pretty much used everything engineering against us. Pretty much what you'd expect from a gnome in World of Warcraft. But they've also upgraded the AI a bit, so these teams do not act like normal NPCs. They don't instantly run towards you or just fling whatever spell they have. They instead act a bit more accordingly to what class they are. The mage character may cast Blink to get away from you, while the rogue characters may try to engage you in stealth, going in for them tasty backstabs and stuns. Which isn't at all super annoying when you're facing off against a rare mob and suddenly you get kidney shot from nowhere. So yeah, pretty much like a rogue would. And for those who choose PvP difficulty, you'll be pitted against players of the opposing faction to see which team will triumph. And of course, as I said earlier, killing the enemy team rewards you with Azerite. The more Azerite they've collected, the more you get when you defeat them. And I'm usually not one to PvP at all. Ever, but this actually sounds like a lot of fun. When you play against the NPCs, you don't really need any awesome strategy to win or any particular route. But against actual players, there's a lot of ways to make life miserable for the opposing faction. Waiting for them to engage a rare mob and then jumping them while they're low, defeating them and stealing the kill on that rare mob. However, you can see the opposing faction on your map when they're close, so not at all time, but when they're closing in on you, you can still see them on the map. But apart from this, to help you during your expeditions, there's an NPC on the ship which you can buy some consumables from. They are bought with the new currency Seafarer's doubloons, which are acquired from completing island expeditions. These consumables does anything from launching you towards your nearest ally, increase your overall damage dealt, decrease damage taken, or even summon a demolisher that you can ride into battle with. So needless to say, these consumables will help you out greatly on your expeditions. And I gotta say, I wasn't sure what to think when they announced it. It sounded a bit cool, but all in all I was kinda like, I don't know about this. But after I tried them out, I gotta say they're so much fun. They remind me a bit of the old Warcraft 3 RPG maps, and they share some similarities to Rifts from Diablo 3. The random generation and the ever-changing mobs and events. Once I started doing some island expeditions, it was pretty hard to stop. I think I knocked out like 10 or 15 in a row, and I still felt like, shit, I could do a few more. They are a breath of fresh air compared to the usual dungeon spam or world quest grind. Sure, I'll probably get fed up or bored with these eventually, but right now it's new, it's fresh, and I can't wait to start spamming these. And as I said, just like dungeons, you can do these with a pre-made group or solo queue, although I encourage you to do it with a group. Trying to coordinate the exploring part with randoms was a bit of a pain, to be honest. But if you do it with a couple of guildies over some voice comm, it just makes it so much easier and a lot of fun. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this look at the island expeditions. There's loads more to be said about them. I'll probably make a more in-depth guide about this once BFA launches, but for now a quick look will have to do. And if you have any questions at all, make sure to hit me up in the comments below. I try to answer any and all questions as well as I can. And I would also love to hear your thoughts on island expeditions. And as always, if you like these kind of videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave me a like, and ring that notification bell and switch it to all. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.